Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Hyperion Hub, your meeting place for all things Disney. Now your hosts.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Hyperion Hub, your meeting place for all things Disney. I'm John Alois and I'm joined by Sean Degenhart.
Buongiorno.
And John Redling Schaefer.
Howdy.
This week, we are going to take a look at an upcoming trip that we have planned. But first, I want to let you know that we are on all social media, including Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. We're at Hub Hyperion. You can get a hold of us there. You can also email us at podcast@thehyperionhub.com. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, it really does help other people find the show if you rate and review us. Please. We like to start the show off with our Disney views, and for that, I'm tossing it over to Sean with news that will make my mother-in-law tear up.
Yeah, well, it was just recently announced that the neon lights will once again be bright on Broadway. Broadway has announced its return, and of course, 3 shows opening up September 14th, Wicked, Hamilton, and Lion King. Probably the 3 biggest shows on Broadway. Like I said, opening September 14th. Lion King originally opened in 1997. I saw it on Broadway a few years ago, and actually, it was a Sunday matinee, and the program felt a little tired. The cast, I don't know if it was because it was a matinee, but I saw it at the Peoria Civic Center a few years later, and absolutely loved the show. So excited about that. And then Aladdin will be following suit just 2 weeks later, opening on September 28th. That opened back in 2014. I also saw that on Broadway a few years ago with James Monroe Iglehart, the Tony Award-winning genie. Fantastic show. Disney has announced that they've got a package deal. You can buy a ticket for both shows starting at $150. So they're working some deals there to get people back in the seats. The casts have yet to be announced. I'm sure that some of the original cast members have had to go on to other things, and so they'll be probably re-auditioning and taking care of that in the next few months, getting ready for a September open. So looking bright on Broadway.
Is that at the Amsterdam?
I believe it is.
Yeah, that's exciting. It's been a rough go for that industry.
It really has. When you think about that trickle-down effect, I mean, not only are you losing, actors losing their jobs, but also pit musicians, lighting designers, choreographers, ushers, the restaurants all around Broadway, maybe that would, get most of their business from pre-show and post-show.
Sure, vendors.
Even looking at the touring. I mean, not only the actors, but again, all the production personnel, truck drivers, equipment rental places like, for lighting and sound and things like that. It's a huge, huge impact that COVID's had. So really exciting that things are getting back to normal, and I know New York is looking forward to that as well.
All right, this week we're taking a look at trip planning and what are some of the things that we all do when we're getting ready to go on a Disney vacation. My family is heading down to Walt Disney World. We're staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge, so we're really looking forward to it. I've only ever even been in that building once, and that was 11 years ago at this point. So I'm excited to be there. How do we approach trips? How do we prepare for trips? When does the conversation start? How do we start, when do we start thinking about it? I thought we'd go around the room. I can just tell you that my wife and I start talking about it, and we book probably about 9 months to a year out. And, usually we look at where we could get the most use for our points, for our Disney Vacation Club points. How do you guys start that conversation and when?
John, sometimes we have that conversation while we're still there. All right, where are we staying next? Oh, look at this deal they have. They're not dumb. They leave things or little hints in the room for you But as to your point, yes, with Disney Vacation Club opportunities, you feel like we're doing a advertisement for them, but it's true. When it's your home resort, you have 11 months, and that's a benefit for those that can book that far in advance. If it's not your home resort, you have, 7 months? And you're ahead of the general public when those rooms are released about 6 months out. So we're planning usually 11 months out. And that is not meaning the starting process. We have already looked at it, know that at that 11-month mark, there's usually a big asterisk on our family calendar that Stephanie, full admission, the planner in our house, is calling to get everything lined up on that 11-month date.
Well, we are not DVC members, and I'll add a qualifier yet because, we certainly have talked about it, and Anne has, stopped at the top of the escalator there at the Contemporary to talk to the wonderfully sweet lady at the booth. So I am the trip planner. First thing we do, and we usually plan a family trip every 3 years. Now, there's always little trips kind of in between for whatever reason, but the big family trips every 3 years. So the first thing I do is I open up Excel, and I open up my template for our Disney trips, and that's exciting for me because I know it's going to be happening. So I set up a column for each day that will be there, and then I have other columns across the x-axis for each park, and I look at park hours and type in each park's hours each day so I can kind of figure out where we want to be and mark down what our fast passes, write down what we want for dining and things like that for each park on each day. So the magic is in the Excel spreadsheet for me.
Boy, you have captured a moment.
It doesn't take much. It's exciting.
I'll say this. When we first started going in 2000, before the kids were born, I remember buying the Birnbaum's book back then and reading about each attraction. I can remember laying on my apartment floor, a year before we went and planning out where we would be by the hour, down to the hour, really down to the half hour at times. This was pre-fast passes, so you had to take into account how long you would probably be in the queue for each attraction. As time has gone on, we've pulled back the reins a little bit and allowed things to slow down. So once we get that countdown going for us, it's fun to start thinking about where do we want to eat? Where do we want to make our reservations when we can? What attractions are must-dos? Like on this trip, we're talking about just taking an easy time around World Showcase, and maybe we hit a couple of attractions in Future World. So at that point, like I said, about 6 months out, we start to think, all right, what do we want to do that's different from the other trips we've gone on? And that includes relaxation as well.
John, I'm going to ask this again. When you go on your relaxing stroll around the World Showcase, which way are you starting?
John, it depends on our mood. What do you think of that?
Cop out. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, seriously. I mean, we don't think about it until we walk in, It also depends on... It depends on where we have reservations and where we'll probably be for whatever time those reservations are. I think we're eating at Via Napoli, so it's 6 in one, half a dozen the other. So I don't know. My guess is this time we'll probably start in Canada because we started in Mexico the last time.
Anyway, that'll do it for this episode. No, and I appreciate that, especially when our sons were younger. Three Caballeros. We'd have to go over there, and it pained me, and I said, fine, I'll just meet you there, and I went all the way around. No, I get it. Sometimes it does depend on where you're going, and I really like your comment about the relaxation. I sound like a broken record, but it's okay to plan not just your hour by hour or your favorite rides or where you want your meals, but what's going to be our rest day. That's okay too. And what do you want to do on that rest day? Do you want to do anything? Do you want to sit at the pool? Do you want to go mini golf? I feel that's such an integral part because I don't know if you guys are like this, but there are times I come back and I'm burned out and ready for a vacation after a vacation. And that's okay, because I'm very fortunate and very blessed to go, but at the same time, a recharge day about halfway through your trip isn't a bad idea either.
Did Anne pay you guys to hit the rest and relaxation part?
Yes, she did.
where else is a better place to rest and relax than in Walt Disney World? We don't leave.
Yes, I know.
We don't go to the beach. We don't go to Kennedy Space Center. We stay on property, and we always take a day. Well, let me rephrase. We typically take a day for every 2 days in the parks. We'll take a day off. And that's when I start looking at the resort. What does the resort offer? What are some things that we can do with the kids, without the kids? You know, can we all enjoy a movie at night down by the pool near all the other fun activities? So there are things that we can all do together. Some of the larger resorts have those awesome Surrey bikes. I just remember riding around Caribbean Beach, and there are many opportunities outside of the theme parks.
Yeah, and that's one of my tips, I guess, that I had thought in my head before we started to record here is study your resort. If you're staying, especially one you've never stayed at before, what are the quick services? What are the sit-down restaurants? What are the plans or the crafts, or is there a community hall where you can do the tie-dyed Mickey shirt? You know, John, I will say this. You mentioned not going to the beach and things like that. Well, I will go to my grave saying my favorite resorts are Hilton Head and Vero Beach. And I love that. There's a hint of Disney with some characters, but it's forced relaxation, the way it should be, I suppose, in today's society.
Let me just add this. Typically, like I said, we take a day off. Now, the deals are really good right now for Walt Disney World as far as getting theme park tickets. Like, we got the free day, so we have tickets every single day. We don't usually do that. And we probably won't spend a full day in the park one of those days. We will take advantage of other amenities. A few months ago, we had Tom Weber on the show, a self-proclaimed introvert, right? And he talked about how I fill up my cup, throughout the day. I gain energy by being around everybody. It's really hard for me to go to sleep when I get back to the resort. The others crash sometimes, but I have to leave and just walk. And I'm excited to go to Animal Kingdom because they actually have like little museum areas there that teach you about Africa. I'm kind of into all the other things besides what you can do in a theme park as well. So I'm excited for that. And I start looking at those things this far ahead as well.
Well, and you mentioned how far in advance and start looking ahead. We actually have a rotating, 365 list for all the various destinations we go to. You see something on social media, you see something, the kids see something on Instagram, of a new snack or a new treat, or even a new meet and greet. My younger daughter loves the movie Ratatouille, and we found out that every Wednesday, this was, a year or two ago, every Wednesday they kind of had obscure characters in the area right next to the Main Street train station by the flagpole. And every other Wednesday, it was Remy and Emile. I mean, they're never out there. It was Chicken Little one Wednesday, but thanks to social media, we knew that, all right, when we do go, let's make sure we go to Magic Kingdom on Wednesday and hope to goodness, or if we're there for 2 Wednesdays, even better, we know Remy will be there for one of them. At the same time, the fact that, teenage daughters, they do like to post their own things on Instagram too of their Peter Pan float that they bought there right by the carousel with the castle in the background. Well, we wouldn't even think about doing that if we not had, a pretty active list of things. And so, Sean, you have your Excel spreadsheet. We do as well. It sounds like it's not as dramatic as yours, but on that spreadsheet, there is over on the other side a little column where we can slide in the things from the list that we had compiled over the year. Yeah, some are seasonal, some are gone by the time we actually get there, but it's nice to finally reconcile those two files together and create those instances where, well, this wasn't there last time, maybe we can enjoy this treat, this snack, or this interactive character experience.
Well, one thing I'm excited about, and I will have to kind of let go a little bit, but our older girls will be 17 and 14 the next time we go. So they're now at the age where we can, if we're at Magic Kingdom one day, we can say, meet us back at noon for lunch. So I know they're excited about maybe being able to get out on their own and do some things that they really want to do, or just hang out, just the two of them together. So they are definitely going to be contributing to the plans for this trip we're planning for next year, and that's exciting.
Absolutely.
We were in the Polynesian in the lobby, actually in the upstairs area right outside of Ohana on our last trip in 2019. And my son and his cousin left, they asked, is it okay? We thought about it for a little bit. And my son Evan knows the Magic Kingdom better than he knows the house we live in. So we felt completely comfortable with him and his cousin heading over. They jumped on the monorail. We finished what we were doing and met them over there. And they actually went on a couple of attractions and they were sending us photos. Yeah, it's a pretty big moment, I'm sure, for a teen to be able to do that on their own.
Well, and if we were, say, on vacation in Chicago, I would not do that at all. But in the Disney bubble, I have, zero problems with letting them go out and explore.
So a couple of weeks before the trip, we start getting all those last minute things together. We order groceries for the trip. We have them delivered at the hotel. Typically, we'll have breakfast in the room, and we might have snacks and water that we bring with us every day. Breakfast in the room really helps. And to your point, Sean, it helps with timing. You don't have to go all sit down someplace. And to me, that can turn into a waste of time. If you're, when you could be eating and moving, I'm fine with that. I'm all about relaxation, but when it's time to get going, it's time to get going.
Let's go.
We start planning out things like what 2 pairs of shoes are each of us going to bring. We always bring 2 pairs of shoes and we switch off every other day. Learned the hard way a long time ago that I can't go throughout the duration in 1 pair of shoes. At least 2 pair, to be honest with you. We make sure we have all those cheap rain ponchos. In Walt Disney World, it might rain for 10 minutes a day. I walk a lot. My wife and I typically walk a lot to get ready for the trip. And we might build up to 3 or 4 miles a day, because on average, I think you're walking like 12 to 15 miles a day in Walt Disney World. So you need to build up those muscles. You need to stretch. The older you get, you really need to stretch.
Or sounds like you need to order that extra pair of orthotics and everything else here. Geez, Grandpa, what's going on?
Oh, I do. No, in all seriousness, I have pretty serious foot problems that I need to...
See, now you're going to make me feel guilty because I was making fun of you. All right, that's fine.
We cash in those Disney Visa points for cash. Yep. For a Disney gift card, rather. And so that helps as well for those small souvenirs or snacks or whatever. And then I get my media ready. I shoot a lot of video when I'm on trips. So I have to make sure all my cards are lined up. My batteries are good to go. What does my charging station look like at the end of the night? How do I bring several cameras, and depending on where we're going, I bring the better camera for that day. So,
I'm tired listening to you prepare. This is insane.
It really isn't. No, it is. But
yeah, thank you.
But the videos that I put together at the end of the trip really are one of those things that I love to do. I just absolutely love to capture what I capture and put a music video together. And it's fun to watch it with the family too.
It is incredible. And I have seen your work, and that is one thing, bless my wife. She'll put a memory book together through Shutterfly. And that is our way of creating those memories. But your videos as well are just fantastic. And I can only begin to imagine what has to go into it, but I'm just glad that you enjoy doing that. I suppose the moment it becomes a chore, that's defeating the purpose.
Yeah, and we're past the days where I had to look through an eye hole. I mean, I might have the screen out, the LCD, but many times it's just kind of capturing what's going on. I'm not always looking at it. My wife used to get really upset about that. I've seen the front of that camera more than I've seen your face. Exactly. But it's not that bad anymore. But I do still bring several cameras and have a blast doing it.
So do you have a fake press pass as you get into the park so you can set up shop and clear the area?
Yeah, I'm just wondering how many times he makes his kids redo things. No, let's take that from the top. No, put the fork down. But I want the plate focused this way, and the.
I need to see more magic.
Yes,
I need to see more magic.
Can you do something about your smile? That just doesn't look real. Yes.
I don't do that, but because none of it is forced or fake.
I want your children on. I get that. I want that verified.
I typically don't do that, but because none of it.
Oh, now it's
typically.
Changing. All right, yes, here we go.
Because I want it to be authentic, I make sure that I shoot a lot, So, and then I have to go through all that when I get back. So it's not one of those things where, where all this started. To be honest, when I was growing up, there was no YouTube, there was no internet, so. The only time that if I wanted to watch video or film back then in the late 70s and early 80s of Walt Disney World, I had to watch the 5 minutes that my parents captured on the 1978 trip. You know what I mean? So as I got older, I thought, I'm going to capture everything and I'm going to I'm going to watch it. And it's probably what started me on my, diary tape recorder phase as well. I've got a lot of old audio recordings. So I do like to relive it, but I also like to just remember what the parks were like at that time and being with family.
Well, and that's the beauty of it. I think a logical segue is the legacy you're creating for your children and their children, as they will always have access to those memories in a way that puts you in the middle of the park or the restaurant. And, as I was somewhat kidding, I'm sure certain videos will trigger certain memories for your children. It's the legacy factor that I think is really neat. And that's why I do appreciate the books that Stephanie creates, because, the very first trip we took, my mom and dad went with us. And, those are some great memories before my dad got sick and wasn't able to do as much in our final trip. But in the end, even the still photographs help us go a long way in remembering, because they do. You turn a page and a memory is triggered immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Well, memory making is what all of these trips are about. And it really does start with the trip planning. I mean, that's almost as fun because you've got the anticipation of the trip. So, and even if the trip isn't perfect, even if you have those moments, it's the idea of knowing you're going to be there with your family and experiencing life at a Disney park with them. What did we miss? What do you do in your trip planning that we didn't talk about? Please email us at podcast@thehyperionhub.com. You can also find us on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter at Hub Hyperion. We hope you have a great week, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.
We're glad you could join us. We'd love to hear from you. You can email or send us a recorded audio message at podcast@thehyperionhub.com. Find us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The Hyperion Hub is not affiliated with the Walt Disney Company or its subsidiaries. We'll meet you next time at the Hyperion Hub.